Among the many city and town elections on Tuesday, there was an outlier, a special election for state senate in central Mass, where voters flipped the Worcester-Hampshire District seat long held by Democrats. Republican Peter Durant, a current state rep, won the race by 5 points on a platform of gun rights and criticism of Governor Maura Healey's response to the state's migrant shelter crisis. So how did he turn the district red? And what, if anything, does it mean for Massachusetts Republicans heading into 2024? GBH News State House reporter Katie Lannon was at Durant's headquarters on election night, and she joins me now. Good to see you, Katie.
Good to see you.
So this is just one election. Republicans are still very much in the minority at the State House. But I had the impression from your coverage that people on both sides were really invested in this. Lieutenant Governor Driscoll was out campaigning for John Zlotnick. The Democrats, Scott Brown, and the diplomats were rocking out, trying to get people pumped up to vote for Durant. What did Karen Polito say? The most important thing in the world is that you go out and knock on doors, or something like that?
Something to that effect,
yeah. So why the intense investment in one race when the disparity is so great?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth noting, too, that in many ways this has always been, or at least in recent memory, been a red district. They went for, many of the towns in this district went for Jeff Deal over Maura Healey. And the weird, for Massachusetts, weirdly competitive nature, the weirdly purple nature of this district made the stakes higher for a lot of people because, you know, I think the Republicans were really looking for a win here to kind of start a new narrative after they were shut out from statewide elected office last year. And I think the Democrats didn't want to give up any ground on that. They want to keep that streak going. And we saw, you know, abortion access being invoked on the Democratic side with the organizations highlighting the Democrat, John Zlotnick, his votes in the House for abortion access measures and Peter Durant's votes against them. So I think that the Democrats have really, you know, they don't want to give up any ground. And the Republicans, I think, are really looking to use this to start something, even though, as you say, it gives the Senate minority caucus will grow to 4 from 3.
You know, when you mention the issue of abortion, it seems to me like that might be kind of a tough sell when the status quo is as entrenched as it is here, right? If you're warning that Peter Durant is not going to protect abortion access, people who are hearing that warning know that Republicans don't have any critical mass to make changes there.
Right. The Democrats have a supermajority in the Senate and will continue to do so. They would have to lose a lot more seats to put that at risk.
So is there a sense among the Republicans that you talk to that Durant's approach, talking about the migrant crisis, the shelter system, gun rights, that this is a playbook that they could use in other districts to, you know, get a little more robust representation on Beacon Hill?
Definitely. I think people I talked to were really watching to see, you know, I talked to State Senator Ryan Fatman, who's a Republican from Central Mass as well, and he said that if Peter Durant wins, that's a referendum on those two issues, you know, that those can be winning issues for the party. I talked to some other folks who say that, like, you know, he's focusing too on economic issues, the cost of housing, cost of living, the economy, and those are bread and butter issues for Republicans in some cases. And I think there is an interest that Republican candidates can kind of find their own way into this playbook and maybe have success in the future.
And it's worth noting, this is a nice boost for Amy Carnavali, too, right? The new head of the party who has pledged to try to bring together the sort of pro-Trump and pro-Baker factions that were at loggerheads under her predecessor. This is a good thing for her.
Yeah, and they made a point, too, of having unity events with Bruce Chester, who Peter Durant beat out in the primary. They really, I repeatedly had been hearing the phrase rowing in the same direction. I think Republicans really want to show that, look, we did come together behind a candidate. We're ready to put the infighting behind us, and when we come together, we can win.
So I remember seeing a quote from Steve Kerrigan, the chair of the Mass Democratic Party, saying that the party was all in on this race and that it was really important. How are Democrats explaining away the loss?
I think they're pointing to the dynamics of the district, right? And I think you're hearing still that it's, you know, it is one seat that doesn't, you know, it'll certainly give the Republicans another member, a little bit more voice in the Senate, but it's we still have a Democratic supermajority. We still have a Democratic governor, all Democrats in the constitutional offices and in Congress. I don't think that you're going to hear Democrats making too much of this one race on the other side.
So unless we start to see multiple Republican victories,
Right.
Maybe not time.
And I think you'll probably see Democrats make another play at this seat next year. Because this was a special election. All the seats in the legislature are up for grabs again next year, including this
Good
one.
reminder. All right, Katie, Lannon, good to see you. Good to talk to you as always. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam.